we have everyone here tonight, all board members and some staff and legal counsel. First thing here is to take a look at our topic list. There is one change from what we saw before. We had scheduled a staff presentation with Paul Chergino, and he's unable to be with us tonight. So we've replaced item 2 with an update on farmland preservation program development instead. That's the only change, unless anyone else has anything. If not, we will go with that as our list for tonight.
No, I was just shaking my head. Okay.
Okay, so that takes us to our new item number 2, then farmland preservation program development.
Yeah, and since we had a little extra space and time on our topic list today, I just wanted to sort of give you an overview of some real-time updates around farmland preservation program development, seeing as it's one of our kind of core tenets of our strategic plan. And there's been a lot of development lately in that. So this is your verbal update over a lengthy email. One is there's been a lot of interest and continued excitement, I guess, around TCD sort of stepping into more of a lead convener role in this space. A lot of the land trusts that we've been working with over the last couple of years to provide capacity funding to and access to opportunities have really enjoyed that partnership and collaboration. They have invested a lot of trust in TCD and support there. We've been doing some advocacy for them within our Sentinel Landscape program to try and provide funding. One of those is to the Community Farmland Trust for, so hiding behind that, huh? The talking water bottle on screen.
You're now out in the open.
Here I am.
That's cute.
For one of their Fido's Farm project and other things, just trying to connect the right people in the right spaces. And so we're continuing to do that and continuing to look at how we can support those gaps. We've had a lot of great conversations with both the Department of Defense DC and with JBLM here locally about that within our Sentinel landscape. And there's a lot of excitement on both sides and a lot of interest sort of in both of those spheres, although they're related but separate, in maybe investing in TCD's farmland preservation program, and also as a pass through to all of our other non-governmental partners, right, that they can't necessarily partner with directly on some of these pieces. So there's a lot of excitement because potentially we've unlocked this pathway in this pipeline that we haven't been able to figure out before. And folks that have these dollars and this interest haven't been able to connect necessarily with nonprofits on the ground. And it's a big barrier, right? Being a small nonprofit and trying to go through federal contracting processes. So anyway, there's a lot of momentum there. A couple things that I'll share with you are it is looking like the Department of Defense, I submitted a big proposal to them this month. They're already really interested in providing some funding around farmland preservation in the next couple of months for this upcoming fiscal year. So that's something that they bid on within like a week's worth of time, and they're really excited. We'll be fleshing out that proposal, what that looks like more. It's of a dollar threshold that will come across your the board meeting for approval. So you'll see that contract and the scope of work attached to that. So once we flesh out and put some more bones to that, we'll know a little bit more about what that project looks like. A component of that too is also trying to support some gap filling. So we have a lot of amazing local land trust partners that have a certain sort of mission and objective in our community. And what we're also realizing is sometimes there are properties or landowners that fall outside of those existing boxes. And so who and how and where is that gap filler? We've had a lot of good conversation over the course of several years with American Farmland Trust about this. We're still having those conversations about what that would look like as the sort of backup, as the gap filler. Knowing that we have local land trust here first and foremost doing this great work. But for those things that fall outside of that scope, can there be a catch-all support system? And so they are willing to have that conversation and come to the table and have provided me with some cost estimates that I've worked into this proposal too, to try and secure some of their expertise here locally within Thurston County to focus on farmland preservation. So again, this is still all in the sort of shaping and melding phase, but it's to the point where there's some interest and there's some cohesion and things are starting to fall into place there. with that, we've had a lot of great conversation with our statewide Office of Farmland Preservation, which is housed within the State Conservation Commission, about developing this more robust farmland preservation program within TCD. We have the East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District in Oregon that's got a great model that we've been doing a little bit of sort of shadowing and picking apart, what are the services they offer? What's their funding structure? How does this look? What's the gap and role that they're filling as kind of a nice case study for us? The Office of Farmland Preservation at the State Conservation Commission level is really excited. They're very interested in this. Through my work, also in the Wade sphere, I get to sit at the Conservation Commission table as an ex officio partner and offer thoughts. And one of the things that I really raised a lot of awareness with at our meeting last Thursday was around the increasing demand for farmland preservation support and services. And through the Office of Farmland Preservation at the State Conservation Commission, they have a pipeline of access to statewide funding for farmland preservation, but they are capacity limited in how many applications internally they can support. And so we've gone to them before and made this pitch, and they've added an FTE. We've maxed that out statewide. Now there's more and more demand for these applications. The State Conservation Commission strategic planning process is coming up in May. And so this was one of the things that I, as an early intervention, said, hey, this is really important. There's a whole sort of Western Washington, Puget Sound ag viability strategy that's happening that we're involved in through American Farmland Trust. They're leading that work. And this is going to be huge. And this interest is only going to continue to exponentially grow. And this should be the commission should be really cognizant of this as they're thinking about developing their own internal programs and structures and needs, because right now the bottleneck is just capacity at the commission. And so whether that looks like contracts to districts to help add capacity or they increase their capacity in some way, that seems to be a simpler fix than we're just not, getting this amount of funding awarded. So I wanted to make you guys aware of that, both as we enter into that strategic planning process for the State Conservation Commission, so you can share your thoughts and opinions there, and just on our end as we're looking at the sort of multiple tiers that we're trying to align for this, fixing this farmland preservation strategy, or providing more resources or unlocking all the barriers and gaps for our local partners. Also to highlight, hopefully coming up towards the end of this month in April, is going to be a really great podcast episode, which features Jennifer and talking about the new meat processing facility and what came up in that conversation, which included both County Commissioners Mejia and Fournier, as well as Aslan Mead from the Thurston Economic Development Council. Was really a very comprehensive and amazing spotlight on farmland preservation and local food systems, things that all of us, have been big players on in the community. But it was a really lovely story. And local meat was certainly the catalyst for that, but it went so far above and beyond. And what we saw in that meeting was, or that podcast recording, was that there was so much reinvigoration and enthusiasm amongst our local electeds and partners to just continue this momentum moving forward. So I thought that was a really great sign. We've been working on, trying to solve the local meat piece. We're just waiting for Jennifer to get here for over a decade between our county and
Local
Pierce
meat
County.
piece.
Right.
We have a local piece of meat. No, I'm kidding. Just
Right.
Phil, I'm so sorry.
That's right.
Out of order.
Management. So anyway, as we are adding more sort of focus and capacity and strategy internally, it's weaving in all of these other partners and partnerships in the community and funding sources, and then presence and sort of awareness at the policy and level. So anyway, that's in a nutshell a lot of the latest on farmland preservation, but you'll see some more contracts in the next couple of months for some dollars there. And then we're exploring another sort of opportunity with JBLM here locally. They're interested in that sort of, again, landowner engagement around farmland preservation piece. They're also interested in innovations and how the district, as a pretty nimble and innovative organization amongst the government entity landscape. Can also help with things like if they want to increase growing local seed, local prairie seed, can the district help support outreach and engagement with landowners for local native seed contracts? These are all concepts that they're milling about, and they're seeing TCD as maybe a solution in this space. So there's a lot of exciting conversations happening, and a lot of them come with all of them come with their own funding, which is great. So we're pursuing those, and so far it seems like the stars have been aligning a little bit in this space, and there's momentum, and it's focused and targeted. So
Nice.
just wanted to share lots of things to
Great.
celebrate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions, comments?
It's great.
Would it make sense for us as a board to let the commission know we'd like an emphasis on farmland preservation,
Yes.
like a resolution or?
And that process, I think, is already underway, and it'll continue next Tuesday when we go make a presentation to the board about our new strategic plan and our reinvigorated commitment to farmland preservation.
I'm thinking with the commission,
State
That-
Conservation Commission.
Oh, the state commission. I thought you meant the county commissioners. Yeah,
them too, for sure.
yeah.
So there'll be two things coming up towards the end of April. WACD is going to have a half-day virtual sort of policy session
Yeah.
looking at the next legislative session. You should have gotten communications about that. If you haven't, I'll make sure they're forwarded to you. I think it's like the last Wednesday in April, the 29th,
Yep.
maybe. And then in May, at the May Commission meeting, which is the third Thursday of the month, they'll be doing a longer day focused on some strategic planning elements, and there'll be more information rolling out about how to participate in that and provide feedback, whether it's in that meeting or likely they'll have some separate data collection that will inform that.
Okay. So I appreciate you referring to Department of Defense, its
Mhm.
legally correct name,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to what other people are calling it these
Yes, I
days.
noticed that.
So the money that is potentially coming through that channel, is this for capacity building in organizations, or is this money that could actually be used to purchase or secure land?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a variety of pots of money to do these things. The money that would come to us would be largely for non-land purchase costs.
Capacity
that would
building
be-
kind of stuff.
It would be capacity building, but it would also be for things like due diligence. Like sometimes finding money for appraisals is really challenging
Yes.
ahead of time in this process.
Yes, it is.
So that's another cost, right, that could be potentially supported by some of this. Successional planning, training workshops, lots of these other pieces that are part of that whole system around preserving farmland and farmers are mixed into this. Their traditional REPI funding programs and the traditional NRCS funding programs and state funding programs are the hard land purchasing programs.
Yeah.
And so those are the ones that have that allowable use. Some of these other ones are to support priming the pump for those applications.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else on this one? Right. Thanks for the quick pivot from a staff presentation to an important update.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, that takes us into item 3, annual plan development.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, y'all are going to just hear me talk this entire work session. So please enter other voices to save me here. So I sent out a draft of the annual plan with a big sort of preface around we have this big, huge visionary overarching strategic plan. Now we are crosswalking big visionary strategies with real-time actions in the annual plan, which creates this roadmap. That annual plan will fit with things like our annual budget, which spells out the funding we have to utilize with this, and our annual report and data collection mechanism, which will demonstrate our collective impact and how we achieved those annual plan goals. So the structures look a lot different than sort of the historic versions of annual and strategic plans. Is something we continue to talk about. That was when organizations were much smaller and had kind of a single line of funding. Now that we are so large and comprehensive with multiple lines of funding and layers of deliverables and data collection and spreadsheets and players and partners and contracts, those old systems we've outgrown. So I included that. I also included just a brief narrative executive summary on the annual plan that weaves in our strategic priorities and our annual plan pieces. I'm looking for any feedback that the board has on the content that's provided here. And again, what we would be looking for at staff is approval of this annual plan content. We'll send that over to the State Conservation Commission. That's one of their sort of checks that they have received an annual plan for us. The deadline is the end of May. And then what we'll do is we will utilize that annual plan to create our data collection structure. So this one again is a little bit different because it's not just 97 widgets that we're counting. It's a handful of very impactful widgets that are fed through a variety of data sources that we're aggregating to show collective impact. But it's also a communication strategy for testimonial development, for video work, for campaigns, for these larger sort of outreach initiatives. And that's woven into this. And so when we get approval from the board on this, then we'll work on those channels and deploying that with staff. One of the exciting things is that you'll be able to see, I think, better real-time connection to our progress under this annual plan structure, because the products that we'll be creating, we will be creating and cultivating throughout the year and not just aggregating numbers for a report once at the end of the year. You'll see those videos as they're produced in real time at the board meeting. You'll get those testimonials, those stories, those articles, those story maps, those spreadsheets, whatever it is that we're developing as our data collection piece, in addition to the widgets themselves and their percentages. So before you'd have the link, you'd click on it, you could see a large spreadsheet of lots of numbers. Now you'll still get those, but they will be fed up into these bigger collective impact metrics, but then you'll get all of this other real-time content as well. So hopefully it paints a much more accurate and comprehensive picture of our progress on this annual plan and how that relates to our strategic goals. Large intro. Do you have any thoughts, feedback, or questions?
Okay, yeah, we had this in our
Yep.
packet. We had a chance to look at it. Thoughts, questions, comments?
Sarah, you said that the commission needs this by the end of May.
Mhm.
When do you need comments from us to incorporate into that?
This is a project that I would love to move off of our plates so that we can develop our data collection tool
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
The later it gets in the year, the more back collection we have. If the board didn't have any comments on it today, I would say that this could be an item the board could put on tonight's board meeting for approval, and we could move into that developing of the data collection phase.
Mhm.
If if there's hesitancy and the board would like to approve it next month, that's fine too. That's really up to you guys.
Mhm.
Okay,
I'd like to look at it more,
okay.
but I mean, I'm fine with approving it, but I can submit if I have substantive comments later.
Well, if you feel like you need some more time to look at it and you might have substantive comments, I'd suggest that we don't approve it tonight. Because I think when we approve it, it would be better if it's in its final form. And it's, what I'm hearing is we can do that at our April meeting
Mhm.
and not delay any process that's important.
Is that true?
It will delay the data collection piece of that, and that will just be a little bit delayed in terms of when you'll start to see the real-time pieces, and we'll have to go back just 1 month further in that process. It's not a huge impact on staff. To do that, just know that is the impact
Yeah.
of waiting until
Yeah.
April.
Well, I mean, this
Yeah.
is our official statement to the commission about what we intend to
Yeah.
do over the coming years. So I think we should take the time to do it right.
Absolutely.
And we have a couple of months. So if we delay this by a month, I don't think it's a big deal in the overall scheme of things.
We did go through it and nothing jumped out at me, so I doubt if I'll have much.
Okay. What do others think about this?
I would like one more month.
I would too.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, so we will hold that. Let's schedule it for action at let's schedule it for another discussion at the work session for
April.
April. and then tentatively put it on for approval on the April board meeting as well.
Perfect.
Okay,
I feel better about that than adding it to the current. Schedule. One thing though that I would feel comfortable with is indicating some kind of initial approval for the purpose of allowing the data processing to move forward. If that will avoid the delay while holding off on the final approval of the document. If the board doesn't think that the changes over the next month will substantively affect what the data selection portion would look like.
that's actually a good suggestion, Ben, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel like I want to look at it a little bit more, but I feel like generally it's pretty much on the right track.
That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
You're saying it better, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. So let's go ahead and continue the staff process for building out the data collection process, knowing that whatever we come back with is likely to be pretty minor tweaks
Great.
and not a major overhaul of the plan.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. All right, sounds good. That takes us then to item 4, legislative update. The session recently ended. And now we have some certainties about some things.
Yeah, we do. And so most of those details were included in my executive director's report. The one sentence recap is that we fared really well in the scheme of things in other natural resource agencies, in other spaces. Conservation districts were largely funded, not receiving any additional cuts that were proposed a few times throughout session. And actually it, received an increase for forest health and wildfire resiliency work. And so that was really exciting and heartening to see that. There was a decrease in sustainable farms and fields, and the commission and WACD are working together to go back to the legislature and really figure out why. What is the challenge there? Why was there a decrease there? What is the gap that they're seeing or not, wanting to invest in? And then how can that inform our messaging strategy for next biennium? Other than that, they've already started, the commission has already started their work on putting together the 27-29 biennium budget request information. We'll have the opportunity in April with WACD to talk about legislative priorities. The commission's touch point in May will have more information about their budget packages. Again, in July, they'll have a final approval of what those budget packages are before they're submitted in August. So there'll be some more touch points in this conversation along the way. They have definitely increased their communication with conservation districts around collecting data and needs and for programs and projects and what communities are looking for. And so that was really great to see. I think the process that they've done this year has been really great. It's just been really great and very inclusive. So I'm looking forward to what we'll see there, but we'll learn a lot of these details about sustainable farms and fields, why that wasn't funded, what the messaging strategies might be for next year, where they might focus on things.
Okay. Comments, questions? The only thing that I'm kind of pondering is that while we fared well, there's an assumption that there's a millionaire's tax coming into play that's going to fund these other things. And if the courts decide that that's not something that we can do, then those other things that were going to be funded aren't going to be funded through that revenue source. And there may be a need to go back and revisit some of the things they funded outside of that new revenue stream, like forest health and wildfire protection and some of these other things that would impact us more directly. And so I guess it's just a caveat that until the courts decide if that's a valid revenue source, is the potential there could be some adjustments in what they ultimately decided. And think there's a lot of different thoughts about whether the courts think this millionaire thing is gonna fly or not. And probably a lot of lawyers on various sides of that discussion, Ben.
Clear as mud.
But for now, we'll take it as kind of, in my opinion, we dodged a bullet in some ways, except for sustainable farms and fields. It could have been a whole lot worse, given the overall revenue projections in the state.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the messaging might just need to be different, like you said, and sustainable is such a buzzword. I think we could use something else.
Well, and this is a program that is so there's so many different players and stakeholders involved in this one outside of the district pipeline.
Oh,
So yeah, there's a lot more cats, I guess, to wrangle in terms of putting that forward and
And
really
the
what
different
the
methods.
use and intent of that funding is. So
Okay.
yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
And the tacky.
It just, yeah.
It's called save our food.
That would be, you know what I mean, though, if you just can connect it that way, but
Right.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that takes us to item 5, strategic planning outreach. So, we started this process last night at the City of Olympia. So Marianne and I were there, and Nora was there for a little while, though. Nora had to leave before we ever got to the topic. So what happened is that the city council had 3 special recognition sessions at the beginning of their meeting, which took up the first hour of the meeting.
Oh, boy.
Was it only an hour?
It was maybe a little over an hour. They had a new police chief, and it was
Mhm.
Trans Awareness Day of Visibility,
March 31st.
and yeah, March 31st, Trans Awareness Day of
It's
Visibility,
very good.
something like that.
You remember.
And I don't remember what the third recognition was board and commission volunteers.
4.
No, there were 3.
Well, what about the park?
Oh, that happened later.
That was later?
Yeah, that happened later. So anyway, 3 special recognitions, and then they got to public comment, which was where we were going to speak. And it turns out that we were there on a very busy night because they were discussing the home energy score ordinance. And people were out in force. The right side of the room, I guess is that stage right? No, that's stage left. Stage left
Stage left.
was the realtor, the real estate community.
Yeah,
And stage right
little
was everybody
stickers.
who seemed to think it was a good idea. And so almost all the comments during public comment were about that topic.
Okay.
But in the middle of that, I was able to get up. And unbeknownst to us, the city had changed their rules recently. So it's not a 3-minute period anymore. It's a 2-minute period.
He did really good.
Thank
I mean,
you.
it was like, and it was over, but yeah.
So I packed as much as I could into 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think the good news or the takeaway from this is 3 of the council members commented very positively about the district. Commissioner or Council Member Madrone, not
Yeah.
surprising.
Right.
But the 2 that I was a bit surprised about were the mayor, who said he really valued the work of the district and looked forward to further partnerships and this new aggressive strategic plan that we had. And then really most surprising was the newest council member, Paul Barrett.
Yeah.
And he said in his comments that he had worked with conservation districts for many years and he really loves conservation districts. And I don't know in what capacity. I've known him for a long time and we worked on things politically in the past together when he was the chairman of the State Democratic Party, but he is clearly an ally for what we want to do. And so that was really good news. And I will follow up with him to see if he wants to get together and talk further about that. But I think my takeaway, and Marion, you can certainly say some more here, is that we did as much as we could do in 2 minutes and it resonated. And we got good feedback.
Yeah, well, you were the difference in the room too. Yeah. And I think that Paul did leave that invitation open.
Yeah.
So you definitely
I will
reach
follow
out
up
to
with him.
him.
Yeah.
It was an invitation. Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been in his living room to discuss things.
But it wasn't over till
We
8
need to have
o'clock.
that again.
And
Yeah.
we left after.
We left
con-
after 8 o'clock
But it-
and the meeting started at 6.
Yeah. That was just after comments. They weren't done. We're like,
Oh, they weren't even close.
we're
to
like,
done.
and
Yeah.
anyway, good job. Good job.
So, yeah, but it was, I think it was good. And I think I had crafted a really nice 3-minute testimony, which I hopefully can deliver at all the other meetings, but, we made it work in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So next up there is going to be the county commission next Tuesday afternoon. And we'll go
Are you
pitch
to that as
this
well?
thing again.
Well, I thought I saw 3 on there.
So that's
Yes.
another item for comment or for discussion tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the more the merrier, in my opinion. And there was an initial sign up for who wanted to go to what meetings. We just need to notice it properly if there's going to be more than 3 of us there. But I think that the more of us that are there, the more appreciative these elected bodies will be, and the more we'll show kind of solidarity with what we're doing here. So I invite anyone who wants to be there, to be there. Yeah,
So we're just gonna post a potential notice of quorum or notice of potential quorum for the rest of the meetings that you all may be there at the same time talking about district business. If less than a quorum of you shows up, that's fine. But it just says, hey, here's an opportunity. It might happen. We want you to know about it, that there might be a quorum of our board there talking
Yeah.
about this thing.
yeah.
Great.
I think the one process improvement I hope we can get soon is that the annual reports we distributed were the 2024 annual reports. And I did get a follow-up this morning from one of the council members who said, well, what about 2025?
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Uh,
What I heard from Nora last night is that it's in the works.
Yep.
And that at some point we'll soon have a printed version of the 2025 report. Because some of the stuff in 2024 was outdated, like our budget data.
Yes.
So I wound up calling Susan yesterday to get updated budget numbers, because our budget's gone up by
Yeah.
almost $2 million in the 2-year
yeah,
period.
Which is very.
And the percentage that we take from rates and charges within that has gone down by 1%
Yeah.
over 2 years, or over a year. So anyway, more updated annual report, I think, would be appreciated in this process.
And so that the updated, the 2025, our annual reports typically come out around May
Right.
every year, just in terms of our
Right.
timeline and our
Sure.
first quarter priorities and getting our data and our feedback. With our new strategic and annual plans and the new systems that we're proposing to develop to track data collective impact that we'll be doing throughout the year, we'll be building those annual reports in real time throughout the year. So we'll be able to get them in the first quarter. We'll be able to have them for things like legislative session. We'll be able to have them for things just a lot earlier, because that has been a big challenge for us. Is the year's half over by the time we're able to
Sure,
roll
yeah.
out for 6 months, the last year's annual report. And we really want to be able to use all that great content
Yeah.
earlier. So, yeah.
One thing that we do a lot in law is do a quick appendix of this part.
Yeah.
So if you come up with a list of the things you think would be the questions, get that to staff. They can put together a flashcard we can flip back.
Yeah.
Or
Well, I don't expect there's going to be many questions, because the nature of what we're doing here is under public comment, and they just tend to not
Yeah.
do a lot of question there. That's because there's 30 minutes on a bunch of different topics. And so the fact that 3 of them took the time to even comment on our presentation, when we were clearly the outlier among all the other public comments, I thought that was a positive
the
sign.
commissioners might be different.
They might be. But on the other hand, we've had a lot more frequent and sustained interaction with the commissioners. I feel like next week, a lot of what we're going to say, they already know.
Yep.
And a lot of the other jurisdictions, I mean, when's the last time we ever went to these jurisdictions with an update? Not since I've been on the board.
It's good for the public to hear as well.
Yeah,
that are there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yep.
Yeah.
TJ, do you see the rest of them going similar? You being the speaker? I mean,
Yeah, that's
makes sense to me.
that's the
Oh,
intent.
yeah.
And then having other people there that I introduced Mary Ann. And then if in fact there's questions, then we're all able to respond to those questions. Yeah,
Good,
But
but I don't have to prepare.
yeah, I thought about divvying it up, but with 3 minutes and
Yeah.
even less so 2 minutes, it's just wonky. I think it's just better to have a single bullet.
They appreciate that
Well,
too.
and you're the chair. I think that's totally
Yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah.
They don't
okay,
need a
thank you.
bunch of people
I
talking.
appreciate the vote of
Trust me.
confidence. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll continue on. Item 6, the CEC.
Ah, there you go.
Funding application has been the name of the game in March. You probably saw that as well in my executive director's report. We applied to 2 congressionally funded programs, one through Senator Patty Murray's office, one through Congresswoman Strickland's office. Both of those are mirrors of each other, hoping that they will get traction on both sides, right, and make it through the gauntlet, or at least make it through in part in both. That's a strategy that they're excited to work on together about when, where, and how to fund those things. Senator Patty Murray's application was just recently submitted. Congresswoman Strickland already selected our project and is advancing that for application, for funding application. And is really excited about that and has worked with us on a lot of strategy around how to put that forward to funding committees and align, really articulate our alignment with some of USDA's priorities and NRCS and how this center achieves all of those pieces. So there's a lot of excitement in Congresswoman Strickland's office. We'll be meeting again in person with Senator Patty Murray's new staff next week to just really give a much more comprehensive view of everything the district does, the CEC. They're also excited. So even though we've lost sort of that connection with Daniel, who used to be in that seat, the momentum is still consistent with interest in this project. So,
And my understanding is the new Daniel is a food and ag person who came through the WSU side of things and is very much about local foods and agriculture. I just learned that the other day.
perfect.
So we have an ally on the inside, it sounds like.
I have really great relations with some of Strickland's staff. And I'm gonna talk with them about some other issues.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk with you before I meet with them, because I can say, oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've really helped them too when they want to get out on the ground, when they want to see some things, when they want to bring the congresswoman out to walk around Jennifer's property or whatever it is. We've said, yes, we'll help you do that. We're happy to coordinate that
Then we'll give
for
you
that
lunch.
engagement
Yeah.
and facilitate those connections. And so they've really appreciated that we've supported a lot of those pieces. So we're also submitting an application to the CURB funding board that you approved that resolution last month. We received our letter of support from the Thurston County Commissioners for that. So that's going forward. That's again, that initial sort of planning, financial strategy, conceptual design phase of that. So we're excited to see where that goes and if that's funded. Again, we are looking at the nexus of how the CEC can promote landowner engagement and prairie restoration and enhancement and agricultural viability. And we've put in, we've thrown it out there that this could be a great public sort of legacy moment for a lot of the things that the REPI program is interested in. And so we've also put it out there for them that, maybe this is worth them investing in as well. And so there's some interest, and we're going to be having a meeting in the next couple of weeks to sort of see if this big public community convening space around all of these things that program stands for is a place that they might see some of their dollars in the future. I also think the conservation hub concept is really exciting and popular to a lot of those folks. And there are things like our JBLM Sentinel Landscape Coordinator who, might be interested in housing, having an office, space in a public center like this. And so similar to the Spokane model, we've been sort of having those conversations with some of our smaller community partners who may not have a storefront, may not have this community meeting space, and how, could we turn some of this hub idea into this one-stop shop? So there's been a lot of interest in that as well. I'll also be meeting with the Tumwater Farmers Market in April to sort of talk about thoughts, concepts, ideas. Is there a partnership? At minimum, making them aware that we're heading down this path, that local food and ag is at the center of that. And, hey, look at some of these other examples, like what happened in Spokane. What are your plans for the future? And can TCD be a supportive part of that? I did meet with the city administrator, city of Tumwater administrator, and they're also very excited about this and very excited about the community element and all that that would offer for the city of Tumwater and Tumwater residents. And they're very excited about things like demonstration sites and places that people can walk and see conservation in action. And you know, if there is a Four Seasons farmers market or a CTE connection with nurseries and greenhouses, like any of these sort of peripheral ideas we've had, they're really excited about that and what that could offer to the community. So yeah, there's a lot of momentum and engagement there. I think the rest of my update will be saved for later in the meeting.
One thing I wanted to add to this, so, earlier just this week, maybe 2 days ago, I got approached by the Evergreen State College because they had been invited by Senator Murray's office to submit a proposal for upgrading the organic farm at the college and building new infrastructure and a more robust farmer training program out there. And they asked me to sign on to their application on behalf of the district. And I said, I can't do that for two reasons. We haven't talked about it. And second, it would be a little bit competitive potentially with the application we've already submitted. But what I did agree to do as an individual farmer and former faculty member is I wrote a letter of support for their application as well, which I see as very complementary to what we're talking and what Sarah was just talking about here. The ability to upgrade that facility and provide a better and more guaranteed funding stream for future farmer training, I think is a good thing. So they have an application. They don't have it in Strickland's office, only through Murray's process. So as an individual, I did sign on to that, but not on behalf of the district.
I actually had the manager from that farm as a board member for like 2 months, 20 years ago.
Lydia Beth?
I don't remember who it was.
Yeah. Yep. So, but as usual, the way things happen at Evergreen, it was very last minute. They contacted me Monday afternoon and they needed the letter by
2 o'clock or something.
Tuesday morning at 9 or something. I don't know. Anyway, and they had written a nice template as if the district was endorsing it. So I had to change all of that. So it was just me as an individual farmer saying, yeah, I've used these interns. I taught there. This is a good program and should be invested in. So anyway, just wanted to share that. That takes us then to item 7, last item on our work session here, updates and announcements. Let's start down here.
Nothing for me.
Nothing? Okay.
Nothing for me. Oh, except for maybe just a really quick recognition of the county's proclamation, I want to say last week, recognizing Agriculture Day, the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists and Frogs.
Very good.
Yes.
World Frog Day.
Yes,
I
right.
love that.
Yes, so thank you so much to the folks that showed up, and it was great seeing some staff from TCD there as well. That was really meaningful. So thank you for being there. It was well attended. Folks from our ag community showed up as well.
She had a little
Good
cat.
event.
Oh, I saw the picture of the
It
cat.
was a good event.
Very
Yeah. So
good.
especially loved seeing TCD well represented.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything?
Well, I have briefly, the TRPC, well, the last meeting. So every jurisdiction went over their, you know, their plans and stuff of, so City of Olympia acknowledged that their biggest thing for their, comprehensive plan was, climate change. Spreading their urban core for the sake of climate change and not going any further. Yelm is going to, they feel they're gonna have difficulty because they're gonna have a lot of growth, so they want to annex some lands. Probably gonna happen there. Thurston County spoke and said that they're gonna move this through the sustainable Thurston goal, 5% growth and protect the rural character. We'll just have to see how that goes. That was Josh, I think, that was talking about that. Focus just the growth in the UGAs. And then the one thing I found really interesting was the gentleman from Yelm. I think he might have been a project manager, but he said that So now they can build housing, right? And then they can have ADUs on these housing. They were really excited. It's taking a lot more land, it's more resources for water, et cetera, and that. But they thought they would have affordable housing from these ADUs. And these 800 square foot ADUs ended up renting for like 2,400 a month. So they were not affordable housing.
Yeah.
They were not affordable housing, but they're what we should be looking at as far as what might happen in other jurisdictions, because they were like one of the first ones to have this development come in. Then each house had an ADU, which will pay for their mortgage. But it was supposed to be really built for affordable housing, but it's just not, didn't work out that way. Anyway, so that's my report.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Doug?
I have two things. Love your jacket. I hope they do the right things.
You're going in the right direction.
Yeah, so it's like, I think when we talk to the jurisdictions, there's three, I think, that aren't within the boundaries of the conservation district, and we ought to mention that at least.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, they're partially within the bounds, right?
Well, the 48 route.
Yeah, Yelm and Tenino, there's parts of it that are and parts of it that aren't.
And Yelm wants more of it to be.
Yeah,
It's more of it.
right, yes.
So it's not all of Thurston County
It's
then?
not.
Just the 1947 city limits of Yelm, Rainier, and Tenino. So it's a few blocks in the very center of these three cities that did not opt in. And so originally, the
Oh,
remaining land outside of that
Yeah.
was in the county that opted in.
Yeah.
And so as the cities have annexed those spaces, that boundary line stayed the same. And so the majority of those cities is in the district.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
very small
Small.
footprint in the middle of each. And yes, Yelm has been interested in
Yeah.
pursuing this and
Yeah.
making it comprehensive for a few years.
Okay.
And we just, we need to follow up with them and
Sure.
support them in that process. It's pretty simple. They have to pass, an ordinance on their end at the city council, and then we have to put it forward to the State Conservation Commission and they'll approve it, and then that process moves forward.
Hmm.
And I think going back several years to our discussions here, that's one of the reasons we wanted to do some of this outreach to
Yeah.
those jurisdictions. Is to tell them about all the great stuff we're doing so that they would say, well, why don't we just jump fully
Mhm.
into this?
Yeah.
In my remarks last night, I talked about rates and charges and how most of the property owners in the county pay rates and charges. And so we'll be able to be a little bit more specific in saying there's a handful of people in your communities who don't.
I see.
And so we are somewhat limited in the services we can provide in those areas.
And those folks all are also not eligible to participate in our elections.
Right.
Or run as board supervisors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we have provided some service over the years.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot we can do and some things we can't do depending on our funding sources. Yeah,
Okay.
This is a good opportunity to say that, I think.
right.
Yep.
That's part of the ulterior motive. Okay, so I got a couple things here. I agreed to serve on the WACD Ag Viability Task Force, or whatever I guess they're calling it. We now have a first meeting scheduled in April. And so I'll be representing us in that thing. I don't know exactly where it's going, and I was interested to hear you say that the American Farmland Trust is doing ag viability stuff, and I don't know how that relates to the WACD process, if it does at all.
They're aware of it, and they have representatives from the State Conservation Commission engaged in that work, and they're hoping that it will feed together. WSDA is also doing some stuff in this space, and so
Yeah.
Katie Rains is part of that group, and so they're all hoping to feed this. And this was work that Danny Madrone started when
Right.
she was with AFT many years ago,
Right.
and then it sort of lagged when she left, and now it's been picked back up. But they're aware of the WACD process and looking to make them complementary.
Yeah, well, that'll certainly be one of my messages in this process is let's get everybody on the same page around this.
Yep.
Yes. Second thing, is that I just learned about this today from the, Young Farmers Coalition, but USDA had this program called Increasing Land Capital and Market Access. ILCMA. And this was really designed to help young farmers get started and get access to land and the tools they needed to farm. Well, USDA canceled 49 of 50 existing projects across the country under that program, and they're pulling back $300 million in already pledged money in 40 states and territories. So that's a big loss in terms of investing in the next generation of farmers. And this is, I had never heard anything about that until I saw the young farmers thing maybe yesterday or something. So that's a hit. And who knows where that $300 million is going, but it's not going to future farmers and helping people get on the land to do stuff.
Can we ask NRCS what's going on with that?
That's a great question. And they will be here at tonight's meeting, as a matter of fact. I lobbied them to start showing up here, and I think Audrey will be here tonight. So that's a great one, Doug. Last thing I wanted to mention is that just from a personal standpoint, our discussions with the Community Farmland Trust about selling development rights on our property are progressing. And we had the appraisers out last week, and we've done a yellow book appraisal now on the property. And so we should have those numbers by the end of the week and be able to see like what the value of the development on our property is. And then at that point, if we're all feeling good about things, then they get to go to the next step, which is let's find funding to buy the development rights so that we can protect the property. So
Yeah, that's
it's a
awesome.
big step. You know, this has been 10 plus years in the making here, but it's a good important step here. So I feel very good about
Very
that.
exciting.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Thank you
see
for
where it
doing
goes.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sarah, you get the last word. ED update.
Yeah, I think with this one, you should have received a calendar invitation as well on April 29th, for the NRCS local working group meeting. So that date has been scheduled. It's from 5 to 6. I did put it out there to the other counties and districts within our Puget Sound local working group space, that if they're interested in taking on leadership of as the local working group chair in the future, that seat is available. At minimum, it will transfer to one of our staff if no one else is interested after. So it'll be passing the torch on after a 7-year stint as the local working group chair. And our new ag programs manager is really knowledgeable in that space and would be a great person to take that over, unless another district is interested in stepping up in that area. So local working group funding is rather reduced. And so the name of the game for us mostly is sharing information, is doing a listening session. We don't often change our fund pools here in Puget Sound because there are specific suites of practices that are of most interest, and they're all in the same buckets largely. So our fund pools and priorities haven't really changed structurally in our Puget Sound local working group. However, we hear of new interests, needs, and opportunities, and we can share information and connect producers to resources and programming, a lot of which end up being actually state programs run by conservation districts. So it's a great touch point for us in that regard to talk about sort of this South Puget Sound region holistically and share that information. It's also a great opportunity prior to this meeting for all of the staff between NRCS and our partner agencies and conservation districts to do some networking and collaboration and sharing. So anyway, that's the date. You have a calendar invite in your calendars, and feel free to attend.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unless there's anything else, it is 5:54. So we're going to adjourn the work session 6 minutes early, and we will take a little break here, and we'll come back at 6:30 for our board meeting. Okay. Welcome, everyone. It is 6:30, so we're going to convene this meeting of the Thurston Conservation District Board of Supervisors. This is our monthly board meeting, March 25th, 2026. We are recording this meeting as we just heard, we have a full contingent of board members here tonight, various staff, and actually at least one member of the public. So welcome, everyone. The first item up here is to take a look at our agenda. We don't have any changes to the agenda at this point unless anybody on the board or staff wants to propose something different. Okay, then we will need a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
Moved by David, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jennifer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have an agenda. Moves us to item 3. This is our consent agenda. We have 4 items on consent tonight. We have the minutes and notes from last month's work session. We have our monthly financial report. And we have a couple of contracts here, funding agreements with the Department of Ecology for Scatter Creek and with the Wolf Water Resource Vendor agreement. So I will need a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Moved by Marianne, is there a second? Seconded by Doug. So all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That has been approved unanimously. Item 4, public comment. This is the point at which any member of the public can address the board for up to 3 minutes, not 2 like the city of Olympia, but 3.
We're so more generous.
We're more generous on a topic that's on their mind that might also be relevant to the district. One member of the public here, do you have anything to say to us under public comment tonight?
No pressure.
No pressure.
I greatly appreciate all the work that you do. And as I was commenting earlier, off record, my only lament is that not more of the public is aware of you. And I'm not sure, I know that you're doing a lot of amazing things behind the scenes and working with the politicians and the various municipalities and the state and all these different entities where they get funding. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. And that's very important work and connecting those kind of pieces. I was very fascinated to hear about the JBLM and DOT or DOD connection. That's fascinating. Yeah, I guess just I'm just curious if it's not really it's sort of a rhetorical question. I guess I mean it could have an answer, but it's sort of what is the outreach to generally is like I know that it's kind of like not something that solicitation of your services to the broader public doesn't maybe make sense. It's like a use of staff time, but yeah, I'm just curious about like what that is that something that you all are looking to do, or is like I just
That's a good
Okay,
question. Yeah.
so before we have a response, I'm gonna turn to Sarah for a little bit of a response here. Can you just identify yourself for the
Oh, I'm
record?
so sorry. Yeah,
That's okay.
Rich Jones, resident of Tumwater.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Yes, and so let's have just a quick response from Sarah about what we do to let the public know what we're up to.
Absolutely. And I think you're also hitting us right at a pivotal moment in our trajectory. We've grown a ton over the last several years. And now we have sort of this bigger, further reaching capacity. So of course we have things like multiple social media platforms. We work with other jurisdictions, other media outlets to provide information. We do press releases. We have an e-newsletter. We have a website. We have a podcast. Yes, I get to be the host in April. We also do just tens upon tens of events. We have major ones like our plant sale and our harvest festival that have thousands of attendees at them. We do workshops all throughout the year. We're in K-12 school districts. Our board is really active and present, like you said, with a lot of local electeds and statewide electeds. So we're out there in a lot of these different spaces. We're also really shifting to a lot of our outreach strategies and making those bigger, broader, and more comprehensive to demonstrate our collective impact. So we've done a lot of work in pulling people in and drumming up business and developing great projects over the last few years. And we're right at that moment where we're going to say, okay, now it's time to collect all of that data and share that back out really bigly.
Bigly up.
Bigly.
Thank you,
Bigly.
Robbie.
It's a word now.
It is a word now.
It's been coined.
I've been
as of
waiting for
65.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably unfortunate.
Well, and I guess I would add that we have significantly expanded our community outreach team during the number of years that I've been here on the board. I think we went from barely one staff to maybe three at this point, at least,
Yeah.
who are doing exactly the sorts of things that you're talking about. So
Yeah, and like I said, it's not necessarily an admonishment or criticism, even.
Fair enough.
Sure.
Serious curiosity, because, you guys do amazing work, and,
Yep.
I talk to folks, and it just happens to be the folks I talk to, I guess, but. Yeah, and I guess the other piece of that is that sometimes they'll know about you and that they don't know you're there to help, and I suppose that's a different problem, right? It's sort of trying to, anyway, but I suppose I'm outside of my public comment.
that's okay. We're glad to have allies like you that can spread the word on the streets.
Yeah, that's.
So thank you.
Sure.
And
As far as
stay
I go
tuned
on the
for
street,
more
Yeah.
of the
Absolutely.
United in Conservation sort of community ambassador-esque
Yep.
initiative.
I love that, ambassador. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, thank you. With that, we will end public comment, and we will move to partner reports. Very happy that our first partner report tonight is NRCS. Audrey Mechtenberg is here. Appreciate you taking my invitation to be here, and we'd love to just hear what's going on at NRCS.
Yeah, I think I've met a lot of you before, but my name is Audrey Mechtenberg, and I'm a biologist with NRCS. I'm based out of Olympia. So yeah, I don't know. I think Tara sent out a kind of an overview of NRCS, but if you don't have that, I'll kind of just be walking through that. So initially, just to address like the Thurston County staffing, we had the resource conservationist move down to Lewis County, and that person, it was their like job description to come to these board meetings. So that's why there hasn't really been a consistent NRCS presence here. And then Tara, Alex, and I will try to disperse that between three of us so that we can like continue to foster this relationship. So right now we're moving into our timeline of trying to finish applications for fiscal year 26, and that's coming up very rapidly, so it's very busy for us. We have to try to get as many in by April 1st in order to request more funds at a national level. So that's kind of an initial push, but then the hard deadline when we're going to be ranking all of our applications against each other is April 18th. So gonna be a busy couple of weeks. Other things on the timeline there, there's like some lag with FSA because they're also really understaffed. And so we've had a couple of our applicants in this county who have gotten their eligibility paperwork in on time, but hasn't gotten fully processed by FSA yet. And so it's really making things tight. So I hope that, we're trying to make those applicants, work all the way through the system, but there's some things that are just not able to access until we get all their paperwork sorted out. That's just the situation that we got right now. Yeah, so the other timeline thing that this is a new development from earlier this week. So we have one of our fund pools is the Act Now fund pool, which is kind of a rolling basis, which is a little bit different than our equip and CSP, which again, we are batching all of those on April 18th. Act Now moves on a rolling basis, and usually there's like 2 or 3 different like the state office goes through and like funds all those like Act Now, and I'm talking specifically about usually high tunnels. That's what these get funded under. So all the high tunnels are usually put into the Act Now fund pool, and then the state office kind of batches them based off of the order in which the application came in. And then they do that 2 or 3 times until the funds run out. This year, we just heard earlier in the week, so we had 1 batch of Act Now, and now the high tunnel money is done, it's out. So that's all used up for now. And like obviously they will want to request more funds, but I don't know what that will look like. So there's definitely some, applicants that are not eligible for the Act Now high tunnel funding anymore. And I guess strategy now is just to put them in with our other fund pools. We have a West area fund pool. So that's gonna be very different than in previous years. We used to have all these different fund pools that you could like throw them into different areas, and now there's like a West area fund pool. So it's gonna look different. I don't think any of us really know what that's gonna look like. Usually we try to strategize a little bit with like strategically funding to make sure the money is being distributed amongst like the Puget Sound group, but it's hard to say how that's gonna work out this year. So, and a lot of these are gonna be also, so there's some benefits to that. Primarily irrigation, which used to be a statewide fund pool. Now we have more opportunity to fund that locally. So that could improve because, previous years, Central Washington, they kind of had the high priority need for irrigation. Harder to make our case for Western Washington, even though we still need it, but comparatively. So we'll see if we'll be able to do more irrigation projects this year. So those are fun pools. We still have the potential to do like forest management plans under the Act Now. It's just the high tunnels that got eaten up already. So now we're just focusing on EQIP and CSP primarily. So it looks like just some of our metrics. We have over 200 applications across the Puget Sound team, which is like Thurston, Kitsap, Mason, King, Pierce. Maybe that's it. Unless I'm missing one. So 48 of those are in Thurston County.
Wow.
And 7 of those are going to be partnered with Thurston Conservation District in some capacity. I'm not sure exactly what all of those look like, but we work with some of your staff to do planning and technical assistance. So it's always a huge help because it is primarily just the 2 planners, and then I'm there as a wildlife habitat kind of specialist role for those projects. So historically, Olympia, Thurston County obligates 25 new contracts a year. I don't know if that's an optimistic number for this year. I would anticipate less because of, we just have different funds this year, and it's being allocated across the state with all these fund pools very differently. So it might be less, and I think we can kind of already see with the Act Now high tunnel fund pool how different that was. Like usually there's at least 2 rounds of that, and barely got through the first one this year. So that's just something to anticipate. And then the other thing that is like the big change, like program wise for NRCS this year, is a new pilot program. This is a national pilot program. It's called the Regenerative Pilot Program. And it's this is what is being pushed by the administration with the Secretary of USDA and NRCS. So it's focusing on soil and water health. That's kind of that's the focus. So there's I don't know if you've like seen any of these any like kind of if anyone wants to look at this, what that program is supposed to look like, but it's not separate from EQIP and CSP. It's like a booster pack for EQIP and CSP. So you can do the regenerative pilot program through either EQIP or CSP. There's just additional requirements. So you have to meet soil and water resource concerns by the end of the contract on 1 land use for CSP and 1 land unit for EQIP. These are getting kind of specific here, but basically you have to meet soil and water requirements either at the start of your application or by implementing conservation practices at the end of the contract. And just to kind of, and this is going to be 25% of our entire funds for national level. So Washington, it's a big chunk of our money has to go into the regenerative pilot program. So we are trying to get people into this program. Just kind of like, again, like the inside, just kind of what we're seeing so far for Western Washington, Thurston County, it is hard to qualify for the soil and water resource concerns. It might look different in other, types of farming systems in other parts of the state and other parts of the country, but anyone can do it, but if they aren't meeting those resource concerns initially, there are a lot of practices that they would have to implement. So I think it's good for the right person. Obviously, we're learning alongside our clients right now. So we're trying to get people in because it's going to be where a lot of the money is right now, but the requirements are, so far it's kind of getting hard to meet that threshold. But it is a pilot program. I'm sure next year it will change in some capacity, or we will learn throughout this process how we can guide our clients through that program more effectively. But it is very much a pilot program this year.
Yep.
Yeah, so the other part of the regenerative pilot program is the soil health testing that they have to do. If they get a contract, they have to do it in the first year of the contract and the last year of their contract. Contracts are a minimum of 5 years, up to 10 years. So they can do more soil testing, but it has to be minimum the first year and the last year of the contract. And additional things in there, it has to be evaluated by a qualified individual, which is someone who self-qualifies as someone who has like the background professional or educational experience to be interpreting soil test results. And we're trying to play out, see how that's going to look. We don't have as many of the qualified individuals in this area as we would like to be able to meet that demand if we're going to be doing 25% of our funds through this program. So that's also something that like we'll have to, probably an opportunity to work with the conservation district. Because we also can't recommend individuals to our clients to work with. But if there's like a list from the conservation district of like, here's all the qualified individuals in Puget Sound area, then that's something we can, point our clients to. And yeah, I think that's a lot with the regenerative pilot program. I think those are most of the things. From a wildlife perspective, since I'm doing the wildlife, planting projects and other practices this year, all of our payment rates got adjusted on a national level. They all got shifted around. They kind of condensed a lot of them because we had a lot of different types of payment rates. A lot of them were more like locally determined. And a lot of those just got kind of collapsed into a more condensed payment rate system. And I can speak at least for the planting projects, a lot of those payment rates got cut significantly. So like I can give an example for like a hedgerow project, like the planting project, we could have last year funded for like $15 a foot. This year, the highest payment rate we have for that is $3 a foot. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So that's going to be interesting to work with clients who like maybe their neighbor got a hedgerow funded the previous year for $20,000, and the most I could give someone, for the same length this year would be like $5,000 or something.
But that only applies to new contracts, not existing contracts.
Yeah. So new applications where if you have a current contract, your payment rates are set with what you signed.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So that's all the same, but it could be a stark difference for people who, maybe heard from their neighbors or other people what they were able to implement through NRCS, and and probably won't be able to look like that this year. So yeah, that's most of all of this. CNMP's comprehensive nutrient management plans. We're still trying to get those up to capacity with getting those out. There's a long like kind of wait list for getting those done. that's still being implemented though. Yeah, I don't know if there were any other questions or if anyone had this little summary. And had any other questions. I think I went through most of these things.
And we did get that in advance, so that was very helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
Questions for
I
Audrey?
have a question, comment. Oh, go ahead.
No, let Marianne, you are in first, and then we'll go to Doug. I heard you first.
So the Make America Healthy again,
Yeah.
which I read, and the soil and water health, which I think is amazing. I just wonder how can that connect with the fact that the EPA is lifting bans on a lot of chemicals
Yeah,
that we put on the ground, things that we worked hard to get banned.
yeah, I think, well, for one thing, I know that people like in our offices are, I'm not a soil scientist, so I don't know how this works,
Uh-huh.
but most soil, so if you are implementing a conservation practice, it might not change or it may decrease your soil health in a time span of 5 years, so that's something we're like, I don't, we're interested to see what that data is going to be used for, or what it will uncover, because soil health doesn't typically change that quickly, like
Right.
within a 5 year time span. And at least there's some of the things I'm planning, like doing some soil disturbance in order to do like a native planting project might
Mhm.
actually decrease the soil health in the short term. Like obviously in the long term
Yeah.
it would improve, but yeah, so I don't know how the soil health testing will kind of shake out in
It's
reality.
just really
but
interesting how
yeah.
the administration is just like, take these chemicals back in circulation.
Almost as if they're talking to each other.
I mean, no, it's just all over the board. But
Yeah.
anyway, thank you for addressing it.
Doug,
We pretty much understand the challenges that RCS has had over the past recent memory, but thank you for being here. Be glad to see you more often.
Yeah.
Or another representative.
Yeah,
That is
I'm
good.
glad to be
Thanks.
here too, so.
I had one question. I mentioned this during our work session earlier, and this is not, I don't think it's an NRCS thing, but USDA essentially just eliminated the increasing land capital and market access program, $300 million. They just canceled 49 to 50 projects. Do you have any insight into why that happened or what they plan to do with that $300 million that was otherwise going to be helping young and new farmers?
That, yeah, I'm not familiar with that,
Yeah,
that program, and it's, I don't, yeah.
I don't
I'm
think
not
it's an
sure.
NRCS thing.
Yeah, if it's under like rural development or a different agency,
Yeah.
then we are kind of like siloed in we work with FSA,
Yeah,
and that's pretty much the only partner federal agency that we're tied in.
but it just seems part of a broader trend, like
Yeah,
of clawing back money that we used to be able to expect.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
redirecting it to other things.
Yeah, I better know where
Thank
it's
you.
going.
Okay, well, appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
You're welcome to
Thank
hang out
you.
and see what else we're up to. You're also willing to go into your evening if you need to.
Yeah. I'll stay for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then next up is the commission. Is Josh with us here?
Josh is not, but he gave
Okay.
an update via text message.
Okay, let's hear from Josh then.
Yes, absolutely. It's his son's track and field senior night. That's where he's at. So he's supporting his large human now there. But the commission is going to be undergoing a WAC update process for around their elections, right? This is something that we knew was likely to be forthcoming, and they're officially going to move on that train. So there'll be opportunities for CDs to engage in that update process as that proceeds forward. Largely, they're going to focus on the areas of that that are consistent with the guidance of the AG's office after that Clallam case. So that's a process they're embarking on now, or shortly, in the future. So stay tuned for more. I imagine that we'll be getting some emails around that with some feedback and some opportunities there.
I thought the AG guidance that I saw missed half of what was supposed to be done. So it might be in our interest to engage in that process to make sure that something isn't missed.
Maybe we could, as this moves forward, get a briefing and your legal analysis on this so that we could offer comments on behalf of TCD into that process.
So if you could monitor that and
Yeah.
as it comes into you in live, real time, get it to me in real time.
Perfect.
If we have to do a special meeting because of the schedule of things, I would recommend doing that.
Okay,
I can get my analysis and supplementation if it's necessary.
okay,
And my understanding too is that the commission, is aware of Conservation District Board monthly board meeting structures, and they're gonna try and give ample opportunity for
Yeah.
folks to participate and long enough for boards to meet and receive, review, and
Yeah.
respond.
all
So,
seems safe.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Josh, for your vicarious information. That takes us to the last partner report, which is WACD, Sarah.
Yeah, and we shared the legislative update in my written report and at the work session. I also shared with you about the April 29th legislative workshop, which is a half-day virtual. You do have to register for that. So you've got the calendar invite. There's a link in there to
Oh, is there?
register for the Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
So please do that so you get all of the right details and information if you'd like to participate. They're going to follow up on September 18th with a hybrid workshop. That'll be in the Stevenson, Washington area in person, but also have a virtual opportunity. It's going to be at the tail end of the September commission meeting. And there'll be another opportunity to build on that there. The Sustainable Funding Committee is working on some updates in both of those spaces, so I won't spoil anything there yet. And the supervisor engagement survey is going to be forthcoming. I think I mentioned this last month that we were working on developing that. It's almost complete, and so I would just say it should be out in April, and it's really focused on might be barriers or limitations to engagement. What services are really valued, how much do supervisors know and understand about WACD and all the things that they do, and so it's really useful data from across the state and supervisors that have been engaged with WACD, for a variety of durations. So that will be informative.
Okay,
Good.
thank you. All right, that concludes partner reports. We're on to item 6, governance. The first thing here is an update on the rates and charges.
Yeah,
Daddy.
this is another thing that I also included a lot of information in my report about, but just wanted to sort of talk about those pieces moving forward. We have selected our consultant, FCS group, were the folks that responded to that sort of solicitation, which is great because there's some bones and some information from the last time they did this rate study. So we're embarking on that process now. What we're looking for is to have this rate study completed within the next 2 months, like the timeline that I shared with you, so that you can get the presentation of that information. And our target date right now is the May board meeting. After that, and the board's direction in May, we would subsequently hold a public hearing in early June. Still looking at dates, would love feedback from the board on that. And that would put the board up for considering any adjustments or new rate proposals at the June board meeting, which would give the staff time to prepare that proposal package, should there be any, in July, and send that over to Thurston County before the end of July. So that's how the tail end of our process would roll out there. And then obviously the county would conduct that mirror process. We just went through a lot of this recently, and so it would be a mirror of that piece, but with an updated rate study, which I think is going to be really insightful and useful as part of that process.
Good.
One thing I noted, I did read the contract that we've signed with the consultant on that. And I think their scope of work is appropriate. But one of the things we talked about last time, and I think I threw out, was as we start to think about unmet needs that could be funded, one of the things is to take a look at conservation futures projects that haven't been funded in the past, so that we can see what that unmet need is for farmland and habitat preservation projects. And then as I was talking with someone recently, they said, well, what about contacting, because they said that there are some projects that the land trusts haven't even put forward because they knew there wasn't gonna be money. So there's, what didn't we fund through the stuff that went forward? But I think there's, what didn't we put forward because we knew it wasn't gonna be
Yeah.
funded? And I think we need to have all of that stuff captured
Yeah.
and able to really, to be able to actually demonstrate what the actual unmet need is for these preservation projects in the county. So I assume that part is a staff part, it's not a consultant part, but we'll need to have that information by May so that we can start to factor that into our overall proposal that will go forward to our public hearing process.
Yeah, and we've already started to collect that conservation futures data, both about where they're at in terms of their rate and the way that their program has been set up and where they're at in realizing that to its fullest extent. And also, we'll add this piece about reaching out and seeing where that sort of unmet need in terms of farmland preservation is.
Okay, so yeah, we'll have a lot to do in May and getting into that public hearing in June for that.
Mhm.
Big decisions. Yeah. Okay, with that, the last item under governance here is to just take a look at next month and what we've got coming up for our agendas next month.
Okay.
We have it up there, we don't have it on here, but
On the strategic planning outreach, have
Click resume.
an update,
Right next to that, click resume.
an update on what happened so far as of that day.
sure. Yep, okay, and that's on there, strategic planning outreach update. So that has Taylor doing an update. Are we gonna go back to Paul next month, or are we gonna keep it with Taylor?
What would the board's preference be? Taylor signed up for April, but we could ask if he could move to May if you'd like to hear Paul's, or we could slate Paul for May.
And what is more relevant or timely, and let's hear about that one first.
Okay, great.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, and then other than that, we see a lot of the same stuff that we had tonight next month, and then looking at the board meeting. We are scheduled to adopt the annual plan. We talked about that at our work session.
Mhm.
Was that on the work session?
It was.
Okay, so we'll talk about it at work session. We'll adopt it at the board meeting next month. And then kind of the usual stuff from there in terms of partner reports and placeholders for potential executive sessions. So subject to change as we go forward, but that's what we're looking at for next month.
Great.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, then, that moves us to the first of two executive sessions that we will have tonight. The first one here is an executive session on the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate. This is permitted under RCW 4230-110-1B. We will have an executive session that will include board members, our executive director, and our legal counsel. This executive session will last no longer than 10 minutes. We will not make any decisions because we legally can't make decisions in executive session, but we will hear an update and provide general direction as needed to the staff. We'll come back from that executive session with a brief report out, and then we will introduce and move into a second executive session on a completely different topic. So with that,
No further public business.
yes, no further public business, so we'll ask you all to leave. Thank you so much for being here.
Or you can stay for the report outs, but it won't be that.
We'll just say we had an executive session, but I wouldn't stay for that. It's still light out. Go do other things.
Hot tea or something.
Yeah, we will.
All right,
All right.
sounds great.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you so much.
Did you say the time?
Yes, I will say the time now that we've gotten people out. It is 7:04. So we will move into this executive session. We will come out in 10 minutes. That is 7:14. Look at that. Okay, it is 7:14. We just completed a 10-minute executive session to consider the selection of a site for the acquisition of real estate. We got a briefing from our staff, asked questions, and provided a little bit of guidance. No decisions were made during that executive session. That takes us now to our second and final executive session for the night. This is an executive session to discuss potential litigation. This is permitted under RCW 4230-110 sub 1 sub I.
Oh, my.
Yes, it's a long one. This executive session will also include all board members, our executive director, and our legal counsel. This executive session is scheduled for 15 minutes, following which we will come back with the report out. Then we will conclude our meeting for this evening. It's currently 7:15. So we will move into this executive session and return at 7:30. On this. Okay, well, we are back from executive session discussing potential litigation. It's 7:30 p.m. We had a briefing and a discussion among the board, took no action in that executive session. That then brings us to the final item of this evening's agenda, which is to adjourn. So I will need a motion to adjourn, and I guess
To adjourn.
there's a motion, there's all kinds of motions, there's all kinds of seconds. People want to leave clearly. So we'll say it was moved by Doug and it was seconded by Mary Ann.
Okay.
All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you all next